Welcome to Big Faith Podcast, where we have a special guest today, Melton Headley. How you doing,
I'm
Milton?
doing all right, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, baby.
Always
Good to
good to
see
see
you,
you.
man.
Always good.
For sure, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Yeah. So today, we're gonna jump right into the subject. I'm gonna ask a little bit about yourself, Milton. Where you from, man?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, man.
Yeah.
Amazing city.
Amazing city, man.
Amazing
One of my
city, love it.
favorite cities, brother.
Yes. You
Yeah,
visit it
yeah,
quite frequently.
yeah.
I get
visited
jealous sometimes. But oh man, he's in my hometown.
For
He's
sure,
hitting all
man.
the food spots up.
Hey, yeah, man. He told me about Fat Burger and
Yes,
all the
yes,
spots
yes.
in LA, man. This my guy right here, my informational guy about LA. He's from LA. Yeah. So, how was your bringing up in LA, man? Were you involved in gang activity? Describe your life.
Okay, growing up in
Yeah.
LA, it was the west part of LA, the Pico Fairfax area.
Yeah.
Yes, we had gangs, but I was one of those guys where I was too hard-headed
Yeah.
to try to listen to anybody trying to tell me, hey,
Yeah.
go steal this for the homies
Yeah.
or go do this for the hood. What
Yeah.
you talking about? Go do what? No, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I want to do it.
Right.
So I had that mentality.
Uh-huh.
And then also my mother had me heavily in sports.
Okay.
You know, she was a school teacher,
Right.
you know, and she knew the importance of keeping kids out of trouble
Right.
and keeping them active.
Right.
And so I was a heavy baseball player.
I got you.
I mean, I was always in sports,
Uh-huh.
and she kept me pretty busy.
Well,
And I just had that mentality where I was not getting into that unless I wanted to do something stupid.
okay, well, cool, man. I'm glad you really didn't get involved in gang activity like that because if I was in LA, I think I'd have been a product of my environment, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of different.
Yeah, I
You
feel
know
you.
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so let's jump right into the subject of. I'm gonna let the people in on our story. I met Milton because he's also to a heart and kidney transplant recipient. And we met that way through a mutual friend. And once I talked to this brother about his story and my story, it lined up. When I tell you it lined up completely, I mean, we were back and forth to Gainesville. We were in the hospital at the same time. He was on one side of the hall. I was on the next side of the hall. We was back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So I can't remember what year we met. You know,
God, when was that? That had to be.
it was
Jeez.
before COVID.
Oh yeah, it was before COVID. So
Yeah.
like the 2018,
something like
yeah,
that.
somewhere around 2018.
2017.
Yeah.
Well, the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Once we shared our story with one another, man, we were pretty much, inseparable. We would call each other and check on her. Hey, man, how you doing? If I was down there, he'll call and check on me in the hospital. And if he was down there, I'd call and check on her and vice versa, man. We became very close like that, kindred spirits.
Yeah, ever since we were introduced to each other. And this was back before I think you just got your LVAD.
Right.
Was that correct?
Right.
Either you just before you got it or when you had it.
I think it was just before.
I think it was just before.
Yeah.
And I was giving you advice because I had my LVAD. I received my LVAD in 2016.
Right.
And I was just trying to tell you about it because what people don't understand what an LVAD is left ventricular assisted device. Basically, that is a machine that attaches to the left side of your aorta, and it helps pump the blood through your heart because the left side of your heart is failing and is weak. Right. And we'll go into what it is living with heart failure. But anyway, so I had my LVAD, and he was about to get his, and I would call and talk to him and tell him what to expect, and heart surgery, open heart surgery is no joke.
Right.
It's rough.
Right. It is really rough. You had two LVADs though, right?
No, I actually had one. They wanted to give me another one because one was kind of failing. Right. And that's a whole nother story in itself. Right. They said I would not survive if I was to get another LVAD. Right. And basically they were telling me it was it. Yeah. I was going to die. And I was like, this was probably about 3 months after I buried my mother. And I was like, oh my God, I got to tell my family this. That was the toughest night I had to deal with because the LVAD was failing. The alarms were going off. I had a clot in my flow valve.
Right.
the valve that goes in to pump. I had a clot in there,
The pump,
so it
blood
was
flow.
not pumping. It was, it was struggling to pump,
Mm-hmm.
so therefore struggling to give me oxygenated blood.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really rough. And they were telling me, hey, you're not going to make it if we crack your chest open again. We'll be honest.
Wow.
And if you do make it, it's going to be rough, and you may not make it in the ICU. You may even die on that table.
Right.
I'm like, then they were like, well, we can send you home on hospice, and then you can enjoy what time you have left.
Man, what age were you at that point?
Ooh, where was I? I was somewhere around 38.
Mm-hmm.
I was 38
years old.
I was 38.
Wow, man, you're very young, man.
Yeah.
For you to have complications with your heart like that.
Yeah, it was a viral attack.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, you just have a random virus.
Mm-hmm.
It presented itself as a cold,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the sniffles, and I was sneezing, coughing, and then I was like, okay, it's not, this is nothing really. It wasn't really strong. It wasn't bad, but eventually it went away. But what happened is the doctor explained that it did damage to the nearest muscle in your chest, which is your heart, and the virus left.
Right.
But it sent to heart into heart failure.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah.
Wow. So for me, how it came back about was they told me my condition was hereditary. And in my family line on my mother's side, I have an uncle, I have an auntie, whole bunch of cousins that have heart conditions.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying? And I was when I found out I had congested heart failure, I was at the age of 36 years old. And I was working one day and I was moving around and then my chest was like really hurting, when I just brushed it off like black men do. You know what I'm saying? Keep it moving, baby. Got to keep working and stuff. So I ignored it for a little while. And one day, I was at a friend's establishment and I just felt real sick. I mean, down like bad. I caught a cold and stuff like that. So I'm just thinking it's a natural cold. So I go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, you have pneumonia. I need you to go to the place where you get X-rays on your chest." And so I went to the place where I get X-rays on my chest, and lo and behold, the nurse came back in there running. Sit down, Mr. Porter. Sit down. Sit down. I was like freaking out, like, yo, why you just telling me to calm down? And why you just tripping out like that? She was like, both of your lungs are filled with fluid. You need to go back to your doctor and tell him that. So I went back to my doctor, and what he told me was he prescribed me some antibiotics, some in a pill form. And so I took a couple of those. When I tell you by that night, Milton, I was gasping for air. And I did not want to go to the hospital. I swear I did not want to go to the hospital at all. And so they forced me at the time to go to the hospital. And what they did was call my stepdad. And a male figure on the phone, hey, I need you to get up and go to the hospital, yo. Yeah, hey, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And so actually that saved my life. It saved my life, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, so we're gonna go into the beginning. What happened during your transplants?
As far as exactly what do you want to know?
During your transplant, what kind of emotional state were you in during the time of receiving your transplant? Well, let's lead up into what did they tell you about after you had the LVAD? What was your options after having the LVAD fell on you?
Well, first, when they told me I had to have one, I was like, what? I was like, no, I wanted a second opinion because at this point you're kind of shocked. You're like, wow, I have heart failure and I need this device that you're going to wear on the outside, requires batteries. It's going to go in through your skin, a little extension cord, I call it.
Right.
And attach to your heart to this device that's helping you pump.
Right.
I'm like, no, I need to go back and ask my cardiologist.
Right.
And I mean, I went back. He said, before I can finish my sentence, he says, go get that thing right now.
Right.
Go back and schedule it.
Right.
And at the time, my wife and I, we were engaged, and I was like, man, we're supposed to have a wedding.
Right.
Like, dang, this is gonna. He said, no, it needs to be done now.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, I'll do it in 2 weeks. Let me get my affairs in order.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, mentally, I was really beat. You know,
Right.
it was probably the beginning stage of depression because
Mm-hmm.
I had a job that I loved. I was in law enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, you know, you go from bringing home a check to be like, yo, this is coming to an end.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so we wind up. We were going to get married. We were going to just say, you know what, we'll do something short and quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go into the hospital and have this surgery.
Uh-huh.
A day later, a day later,
Yeah, a day
I collapsed at home.
Wow.
I collapsed at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
a bit embarrassing. I think I told you this.
Yeah, you did.
I was getting off the pot.
Yeah.
I was done. I went to go forward to pull up my pants. I kept going, head first into the wall.
Can I tell you how many times I did that same exact thing? Man, my wife had to come get me off the toilet because I hit my head on the corner of the bathroom because I'm getting up. And when I tell you I blacked out.
Yeah, the pressure changed.
Yeah, man, I blacked completely out. Yeah. And I had a knot. I still think I got a little knot on the back of my head from the incident.
Yeah, man. So I woke up and paramedics was there, the fire department. And I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
They had to get me up and yeah, and then I got to pass back out, and then I woke up in the ER. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was like, well, what happened? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you know, my wife was there and told me passed out, and then I realized I kind of reached down and I was like, okay, why is this tube coming out of my giggleberry down there? You know, yeah. I was more concerned about that. Like, whoa, why'd you let him give me that? I had a catheter, man.
Catheter.
I was like, no.
For those that don't know what catheter is, hey, it's a serious thing. Yeah, man. If you have a catheter, man or woman, man, it's no joke. So yeah. So what was your emotional state after the LVAD?
Depression. Straight to depression.
Yeah.
I was down. I was glad I was still alive, but I was in a rough place. I'm an upbeat guy. I'm a very upbeat guy. You know?
Ever since I met you.
But I was hurting.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, man, this is a lifestyle change.
It is a lifestyle change.
You know what I mean? It was rough.
Completely different.
It was very different. It was rough. You're hooked up to this plug. When you go to sleep, you have to plug up to the wall outlet to keep it powered. And then when you're out and about, you're battery powered. You have to make sure your battery packs are charged. Right. You know, so that was a lot.
It was
a
lot.
And emotionally, you know, I was going into depression. I didn't know it was depression at the time. Yeah. You know, and of course, like most black men, we don't need to see anybody.
Right.
I'll be all right. I'll tough it up.
Right.
I've been a football player, and you know, and been a cop. I've seen a lot, so I can take. You know, I'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
You know, so I was down, man. It was depressing. And, you know, I was thinking like, yeah, man, you know, you start questioning like, man, I kind of be a man of the house, and I'm like this. I need to be dependent. And when I was in the hospital for the first, when I went the first time to get the LVAD. It was really rough because I stayed there for 3 months. I was literally about to die. Right. They had to put me on something called an ECMO. An ECMO is basically a machine that oxygenates your blood, and it's through a huge tube that's inserted through your femoral artery in your groin. And you know, if you have that, you have to lay flat. You can't get up, you can't move. And so, you know, that really kind of bothered me mentally because I had to lay flat. Okay. And then what's worse is, man, first time using a bedpan and you couldn't even use the restroom yourself, and you have somebody else wiping your butt. Like, oh my God, man, that affects you in a way. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even do that myself.
For real.
Yeah.
You telling my story because the same thing with me, man. I had to use the bedpan, the catheter, you know, all of that. So yeah. So let's see, man. How did you deal with depression? Was it faith, family, you know, or just your own personal strength? What was it to help you overcome depression?
Okay. Now, at first, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost. I didn't know how to deal with it. I
Mhm.
didn't even know it was depression.
Mhm.
Um, at first, well, my doctor, he
Mhm.
kind of recognized it.
Mhm.
He saw the change when I was first starting to when I go to my doctor visits, and he was like, "Mel, you need to talk to somebody." I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't bother nobody with my stuff. This
Right.
is my issue, my
Right.
problem.
As a man, we do that.
It was me. And then I was more like concerned with my mom. My mom at the time, she was so concerned about me. She was going through her stuff with cancer
Right.
and being a paraplegic with the MS.
Right.
So it
Man, it was a
was
lot.
it was a lot. I was
Yeah.
dealing with a lot, and so at first it was just just trying to deal with it myself, which did not work.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then I eventually did start talking to somebody.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that helped somewhat.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, mom's like going about this all the wrong way. You need to
Mhm.
talk to God.
There you
You
go.
need to have a conversation with Him. You
Right.
need to talk to Him.
Right.
In any way you can, you need to have a conversation with Him like you're talking with me.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I
Just
mean?
talk to God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, you know what I'm saying. Vice versa, they saying the same thing to me, man. One of my doctors, which of course we dealt with the same doctors. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean. So, pretty much, but one of the doctors told me that I needed to talk to somebody about what I was dealing with at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and me as a man, I was very secretive,
Mm-hmm.
about what was going on with me and what happened to me, anything like that. So I
Yep.
didn't want to talk to nobody really. I
Mm-hmm.
talked to my wife, you know what I'm saying, a couple other people, and that was about it, man. I didn't want to share
And
nothing.
yeah, same here. I
And,
didn't tell anybody anything. A lot of my friends didn't know. My
right,
close friends,
right, right.
they knew I was in the hospital, but that's it.
That was about it. That
Yeah.
was about it. You know what I'm saying? My wife had to tell everybody, that what was going on with me
Yeah.
because during that time it was bad. So they sent a therapist to me, right? And mind you, you have to talk to the therapist because that's one of the ways that you can receive a heart. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has to be on agreement. It's a whole team of people
Yeah.
that you deal with, their whole team. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to be in agreement with you getting receiving the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so me being a hard-headed person, I ain't talking to nobody. I ain't talking to nobody. So they sat there in my room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was all sweet and kind and stuff like that. She was like, "Do you want to release and tell me anything? Just relax. How are you feeling?" This I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing. You know what I'm saying? I told her, I said, I don't feel comfortable talking to you for real, be honest
Yeah.
with you. And mind you now, she has to agree on with the team of me receiving the heart. And
Mm-hmm.
I ain't said nothing.
And see, Trent, I didn't know that. So when they sent a therapist to me,
Yeah.
mind you, I wasn't ready, so I didn't want to talk to her either. I was like, "Oh man, I'm not talking to you. How you doing? I'm all right. How's the weather out there?" I was changing. I was like a politician, man. I was dodging conversation. Ask me something, I would veer off.
Yeah.
Mind me, we had a beautiful view at Shands.
Right.
We had an amazing view. And
Amazing
so,
view, man.
that new hospital is amazing, by the way. Side note.
Hey.
So we had a great view. So I would stare. I would look out there and be like, "Can you see them turtles? I love the turtles out there." I'll wake up and I'll go watch the turtles, the ducks, and all that stuff in the pond that's out there, and I would change the subject, and I'll be like, "No, I didn't want to talk to the first time."
I got you. I got
so
you.
I feel you, man. We're on the same page with that.
For real, man. Because so let's dive right into this is before the transplants and stuff like that. But before the transplant, how was your family support? How was your support with your family, your wife, and then you have a small child?
Mm-hmm.
And so, what was the support like? I know you had your son.
Yes. Okay. So the support, it was there. Like with me, okay. The majority of my family is in Los Angeles and
Mhm.
Jamaica. Okay.
Mhm.
So out here in Florida is just basically as far as my close friends
Mhm.
and my wife. as far as my family.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, my son Owen, he's an
Yeah.
LVAD baby.
Yeah, LVAD baby.
Yeah.
Caleb is too.
Okay.
LVAD baby.
Yeah, that LVAD pump was working pretty good.
Real talk.
I know, right? So yeah, so he's an LVAD baby, man. So by time of transplant, I had the support, of course. My son was everything, man. I had pictures of him up,
Right.
to keep me
Right.
going. I'm now it's a whole nother level when you have a child involved. You know what I mean?
For real.
You're not just living off for yourself or whatever, but you have to live for your child. You have to be able to raise. We got boys,
right?
So man, we gotta raise.
You gotta be
boys.
there.
You have to be there. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
my motivation totally changed when I had him.
Yeah.
And not to get off subject, but yeah, I had the support from my wife. Unfortunately, she had to work. She couldn't be there all the time.
Right.
But she had to hold down the household, so she had to go to work. So
Right.
she was in Tallahassee when I was in Gainesville a lot of times, and
Mm-hmm.
she would take off and she would use up all her leave time and everything, but she was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was vice versa with me. My wife was there as far as the support too. I mean, she had to stay home to take care of family, and so she had to take care of Kayla. A lot of times I was in Gainesville. She was in Tallahassee because at that time Kayla was very young. You know what I'm saying? Very young. Matter of fact, he he's getting better. Development skills and social skills and stuff like that. Because Kayla was so young, all he knew was doctors, nurses. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And even staff that wanted to play with him at the time because we were in the hospital.
Same here, man. There's tons of photos of Owen just about this big, you know what I mean, in the hospital.
Yeah, how old was Owen at that time?
Well, just before transplant, Owen was 4 years old.
Really? Yeah.
No, 5. Excuse me, 5.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Caleb was at that time too. You know what I mean? He was very young.
Yeah, man. But see, the boys, they spent time in the hospital because even before the transplant, they were there and we were back and forth. You know what I mean? We spent many a times in there together.
Right.
And so yeah, they
How did
grew
your family, not to cut you off, bro?
Yeah.
Well, how did your family help you out in that? I know your wife was there. She was a major support for you. So was my wife. But any other family members stepped in to kind of help your situation because you had a small child. She had to work. Did you have anybody else? I know everybody's in LA and Jamaica. So
yeah. Okay. So as far as my family, they were able to support me. Not maybe in the physical sense because they weren't there, but they helped financially.
Yeah.
And they were there. I could pick up a call and talk to any of my family members at any given time.
Right.
But I must give a special shout out and love to my mother-in-law, Queena. Okay. So what she did is she moved from Panama City, packed her bags up, and came and moved in with us.
Really?
Yeah. Right. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
That was
you know what I mean? So she was able to help out and stay with Owen. During some of the times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, LVAD time she came and she moved when I got sick. She said, no, I'm coming. I'm going to help you guys out. Now, by the time I had the transplant, she was here and she was able to help out with Owen and take him to daycare and so on and so forth. And she put her life on the back burner to help us out. So that was a huge support for her.
I got you. As far as me and support right there, we have my auntie Mary, and her husband Alvin. I mean, great supporters, of us and my wife and Caleb. They would watch him or keep him sometime, and they would come down to Gainesville, relieve my wife. When she come home, they would come get him. They were there majorly. And I'm gonna just keep it real, man. This is a real podcast. Real things happen on this podcast. So in my family dynamics, man, I have like crazy dynamics, and my family support was a little different. You know what I mean? I had my mother, of course, at the time, but it was a lot of back and forth with the family members, this, that, and the third. So my decision was, hey, I need to heal. I don't need to be involved in hearing family issues, confusion,
Mm-hmm.
just that and the third, and my wife made a decision because she seen I was very stressed out. I had a lot on my plate, a lot to think about. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? This is prior to me receiving the heart transplant.
Mm-hmm.
It was different stories that was coming to my ear, and so I had to cut certain people off, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna keep it real with you. My mother was one of them
Mm-hmm.
that I had to cut off. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like if I continue to listen at that, I respect. Let me say this to the camera. I respect my mother. You know what I'm saying? I want my days to be long upon the earth, so I give my mother the utmost respect. But at that time, we didn't have the best of relationships.
Understood. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, in order for me to heal, I just felt like I needed to cut it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which was a tough decision, right? You know what I'm saying? This is my mother, this is who birthed me,
Mm-hmm.
but at that time, it was too much negativity. And like you said from the beginning, man, I'm an upbeat type dude. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I want to laugh, kick it, haha. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like the drama.
Yeah, and people have to understand, and what you guys have to understand out there is when you're going through something like this, it is something that is so heavy on you emotionally, physically,
Right.
like everything. It's really tough to deal with it. So having outside drama and outside problems just compounds, and it just crushes you.
Right.
To be able to keep sane, there's things that you have to do
Right.
to be able to cut down that stress so you can remain sane.
Right. So
I
I can
know,
stay alive, brother.
yeah.
For me, because had I fed into the negativity and all the
Mm-hmm.
stories and this people bickering back and forth about my condition, and when you're supposed to be
Yeah.
loving and supporting me, you
Yeah.
and I got to hear the arguments and the bickering and stuff. Nah. So I prayed. I talked to God and I said, God, I want to make this decision and let everything be all right in my decision. And I'm coming to you first
Mm-hmm.
for you to guide me through this. And so, I walked through it, and to be honest with you, man, I believe that's one of the reasons, that I'm still here because I cut off all negativity and I started feeding myself positivity every day.
Yeah.
I would look at sermons, read my Bible, just everything positive. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. I took nothing negative in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean nothing. Only person I was talking to at the time was Caleb and my wife and the
Mm-hmm.
doctors.
Yeah.
That was it for me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? At that point.
Yeah.
So I survived.
Yeah.
We're here talking today on the
Yeah.
podcast,
Exactly,
man.
man.
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
You
And
know
I
what I'm saying?
understand that because I did similar same. It was to the point where I wasn't even looking at the news. Because the
Yeah,
news
me
always
either.
feeds you some negativity stuff. You know
Me
what I'm
either.
saying? I wasn't looking at the news.
Me either.
There are certain people in my life that I was like, no, you're negative. I'm
Right.
pushing back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just had my inner tight circle.
Right.
And that was it. And then towards transplant time, it was rough because I didn't have my mother at the time. I didn't have my father. I had to watch my father's funeral via what is that? What's that video? Not Skype,
Live stream.
not Skype.
Live stream.
No, not live stream. I'm trying to think of
Whatever.
it. Yeah, where everybody does business. Oh,
I
that's a
got you.
brain fart. But anyway,
Huh?
but anyway,
Anyway,
I had to watch his funeral on my tablet.
man,
I couldn't be there.
this is your father.
My father.
You was
I wanted to be
raised
there.
with him.
Yeah, I wanted to go bury him. My
Man, that's
doctors.
amazing,
Mind you,
brother.
this is COVID. He died because of the first round of COVID. He died because of COVID. And when he was in the hospital, and I knew when they had to intubate him, I was like, I called up Dr. Ahmed,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, I want to go to LA. I know it's during COVID, but my pops, he's about to go. It's not looking good.
Right.
And then when he passed, and they were like,
you can't
with
leave.
Your system, you cannot afford to get COVID. You will not make it.
Right.
you will not make it if you get COVID.
Right.
And you're going to go on a plane. You're going to go to Los Angeles. And so that crushed me a lot.
Right.
Okay. So I had to do all that. I try to do what I can on the computer and calls.
Right.
But I couldn't be a part of burying him.
Right.
You know, that hurt.
I imagine
my mom, a year and a half before, passed away.
See,
I was able to go back home for that.
So you lost both your parents during your illness and stuff like that.
Within a year and a half of each other.
Heavy, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, you know, I have both my parents still, but you know, your parents were very active in your life. Matter of fact, I met both of your parents while I was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I met your mom, I met your dad too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, for you to deal with that and going through what you did, that was major, brother. You're a mighty strong dude, man.
Yeah, man, you have to be. It's one of those things where you have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have no choice to be strong. But you know, when you pray
mm-hmm.
and you ask for that strength, man.
Yeah.
And the man upstairs says, you know, he's gonna take care of you and walk you through the storm. You walk through it and you get through it.
Oh man, I mean, so I rely heavily on my faith. I'm gonna go back to the cutting out all negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Man, while you're in the hospital, man, for me, I had a chance to hear God's voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I kept the positivity going, feeding myself a lot of God scriptures,
mm-hmm.
listening to gospel, and that's actually what brought me through because I stayed positive. I have this thing called, everybody know, the name of this podcast is Big Faith Podcast. And one of the reasons I had Big Faith Podcast, man, because I came through like you, having an LVAD. My first LVAD, I did fine for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a clot, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And my first LVAD, and so they told me I had to shoot down to Gainesville, and they were going to give me another LVAD. You know, that came up.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have another surgery. So I got the second LVAD, you know, went through the surgery, went through the cracking of the chest again, and so it all, you know, started messing with me mentally. You know, the second LVAD, I recovered, came home. Man, when I tell you I couldn't walk from, you know, the dynamics of my house, the front room to the bathroom, I couldn't do it, Milt.
Yeah.
I could not do it, brother. I started declining on a major level. Mm-hmm. And mind you, COVID was just coming out. And I was telling my wife, I said, listen, man, it's this disease that's sweeping over everywhere. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, I have this second LVAD, and they were talking about giving me a new heart. You know, lo and behold, that I will catch this new virus that's out.
Yeah.
And what happened was, next was, you know, I recovered from the second LVAD, but my quality of life went down tremendously. Mm-hmm. You know, and so they were saying that I had to have a heart. Mm-hmm. And man, you know, and getting a heart, I was dead last on the list. You know what I'm saying? They call it the number 6.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're a level 6, okay. So let me explain to everybody. So there's different levels of how bad you are physically. You know, just for you to get a heart. One is you got to get one now. You have to be in the hospital. You have to be hooked up to life support. That's one. 2, you have to be on some type of assistance as far as like an isotope or something like that. An LVAD, you know, something like that. 3, and 2, you have to be kind of in the hospital. 3, you can be at home taking care of yourself. 4, yeah, you're not that bad, but you know, you need one. Okay. Mm-hmm. 5 and 6, yeah. You'll need one in the future, but we're not worried about you.
Right.
You're all right.
right. So at that point, man, I went back to the doctor, and they told me, you know, you you at the bottom of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna have to do all these tests and stuff like that, and just get you up, man. I had to go through fire hoops with these tests, man.
Yeah,
I mean, like fire hoops,
a
man. They
lot of
pull
tests.
everything out you, brother. They go all the way back from your health histories, and it's just a lot to it.
Yeah.
And once I did that part of it, they told me, I was in the hospital for like 6 months or more,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to just wrap my head around the whole thing. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
and what happened next was they told me I went from a level 6
Mm-hmm.
all the way to a level 1, high priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
People
how it was
understand
with
that you
me.
can decline so quick.
I mean,
You
very
know, when it
quick.
comes to heart failure, and at the time, I believe you had a kidney failure too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, and like,
I
we're so
did.
similar because I wound up getting kidney failure probably a year after my LVAD.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing dialysis. I wound up doing home hemodialysis, so I didn't have to go to the center. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you had to get a kidney, you had to get a heart.
Mm-hmm.
You can go from here one day, or say here one day, not all the way to the top, but here, and
Mm-hmm.
you can just go down so quick,
So
so
fast.
fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Have you ever had been life flighted?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I
Yeah.
have. I've been driven. I've been flown.
Yep.
Everything you could think of. I've drove. You know what I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mean?
I've
So
I've been life flighted out 7 times. Seven
wow,
times. Yeah.
7.
Yeah. And one when my son was born.
Really?
Check this out. So we were at Capital Regional at the time. My son was born.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and he was born somewhere around 7 p.m.
Uh-huh.
So I stayed, whole night, probably around 2 a.m. We were like, okay, my mother and I were gonna go back home,
Uh-huh.
get some sleep, shower, get back up, and
Yeah.
head on back, right?
Right.
Early in the morning.
Uh-huh.
So probably around 2 a.m., I'm in the bed and I'm just locked up, shivering,
Oh
like, oh
man.
man, I got a fever. What's going on?
Uh-huh.
Well, the fever got to about 104, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I gotta go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Took me to the hospital, and yeah, I had an infection, and yeah, they were like, yeah, and you're kind of declining, and so Gainesville was like, yep, we're sending the chopper.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I went out, man. I couldn't
How
even bring
how
my
did it
son home.
how did it feel knowing that you needed a kidney?
A double organ transplant. I was like, man. At first, I was like, Lord, please let not organ go bad. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, kidney too. And then then I learned, I was like, it will come from the same donor.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, it's not like I get the heart first and I got to search for a kidney.
Right.
So they'll come from the same donor. So I was
Right.
like, okay, but I was like, okay, well, two incisions. This is gonna be tough recovery.
Right. 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 Right.
This is gonna be a tough recovery.
For me, it was Dr. Valero, amazing.
Yeah, awesome,
Ahmed,
awesome guy.
Ahmed, the
Yeah.
whole cardiac staff, man. If I forget anybody, what I'm saying, forgive me. But anyway, the whole cardiac staff, man. Dr. Valero came to me and told me, he said, and he kind of straightforward and funny.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, man, hey Trent, because yeah, uh, you need to start wrapping your head around about a kidney." What? What?
Yeah.
A kidney. Your
Mm-hmm.
kidney is starting to fail, and you need to start wrapping your head around a double transplant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and me, like me, I didn't know it was going to come from the same person, and
Yeah.
and no, how was your weight during that time? Because
Okay, so
you're a pretty big man, though.
I was a lot
You're
bigger
like
than this.
how tall are you?
Okay, I'm 6'5".
Uh-huh.
Long story short, after I was done playing ball, nobody taught us how to eat. I'm
Right.
still eating like a ball player,
Yeah.
but I'm not playing ball.
Yeah.
I'm retired. So I
Yeah.
blew up.
Right.
I wound up blowing up, man, real big. I think my heaviest was like 390.
390.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So I wound up getting, what do you call it? A lap band.
Yeah.
Wind up helping her drop a lot of weight, but I was still kind of heavy, right?
Right.
So I wind up going into law enforcement, and I kind of got my weight down some. But then when I got sick, I guess that stress eating.
Right.
So I got my weight back up. So I didn't meet the 30, the 30, was it 35? No, 30. You have to be below, your BMI has to be below 30.
Yeah.
Or at 30 and below. And I was probably at 35. My BMI was like at 35.
Okay.
And so I had to work to get that weight off, which was tough, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't work out. You have heart failure. I could barely walk to the darn bathroom without huffing and puffing. How am I going to get this weight off?
Right.
You know? And so I'm like, it's got to be eating habits. So that was one of the toughest things, man. I had to change my diet. I couldn't eat all the good stuff I wanted to eat. That's the one thing I fell back on. You know what I mean? I was like, man, you going through this stuff, you fall back on some good food and
right.
Yeah, so I had to turn into a hamster and eat a lot of vegetables, man.
Yeah, man. I feel like our story is gonna be a part 2 and 3, man, because there's so much to unpack.
Oh yeah.
You know, because different things that happen between the both of us, and I want to jump right into the heart transplants, actually. You know what I'm saying? So leading up to getting the transplant, what happened in that moment?
Okay, so I was declining. I was not doing so well. The doctors was like, well, we need to bump this up because we need to bring you in and you're gonna have to live in the hospital.
Right.
I'm like, well,
right.
Say that again. Run that back. I'm gonna have to live in the hospital. I've been trying to get out and break out every time I have to go.
Right.
So yeah, man. So yeah, man, I wasn't doing so well.
Yeah.
And they tried to let me out for Christmas. I went into the hospital. They let me out for Christmas. They were like, "We'll let you go to Christmas, but you got to come back."
Right.
So mind you, this is during COVID.
Right.
So they let me out. I enjoyed Christmas. Christmas Day. I had to get flown right back because I was
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, I was flown right back. I was like, because I was so bad, man.
Right.
I had to watch my son open up his gifts, and I'm just sitting there, just like this, emotionless, no emotion, just like
right,
just like that,
man.
So after that, and my wife was like, "You're not looking good.
Right.
Go on." I went back. I lived in the hospital. It wasn't that long. 2 months. I think I was there 2 months. You know, compared to other people, man.
Compared to me.
Yeah, compared to you, my buddy E, rest in peace, man. God bless him. Staying a whole year in the hospital. But it wasn't that long. It was 2 months. And then finally, probably early, like 5 a.m, Dr. Ahmed comes in. Hey, Headley, how you doing, bud?
Yeah.
Wake up. I think we found you a heart. What? I'm up now. What? I was like, I didn't want to get my hopes up high, but yeah, he told me he came in. I was like, yeah, well, there's things we got to go through and make sure it's good and all that. And so,
yeah.
So yeah,
I think I received my heart before you.
You did.
And so in my situation was, I jumped through fire hoops doing all the tests and stuff like that. And Dr. Valera told me, said, yeah, we're gonna have to keep you. So they kept me, and they was like, man, you're gonna have to stay here for a duration. So when what the duration was for me, I miss Thanksgiving, I miss Christmas, I miss my birthday, I miss Irish's birthday, I miss Caleb's birthday. I spent all of that in the hospital.
Yeah, man, that's the messed up thing. I spent every holiday in the hospital.
I did too,
except for Christmas. So they tried to let me out for that,
yeah.
But I had to come right back.
Right,
I really shouldn't have left, but
yeah,
I was grateful for that. But I spent birthdays in there, and
right.
The staff is amazing. They made makeshift cake and everything.
Oh, for sure.
And, my wife's a baker, so she she stayed with the cupcakes and the cakes. But yeah, man, every holiday, birthday, I spent in the hospital. Man, so similar, man. We
man, the nurse staff, man, because like we still have relationships with the nurse staff now, man. For my birthday, man, they bought me a cake. Some of the nursing staff bought me a cake, came in there and sang happy birthday to me with some balloons, and man, it was the staff. is amazing at
Yeah.
Shands.
And so I just want to also touch on that is how amazing the staff is, and the cardiac team there. They're on another level.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm friends with several of the nurses there.
Yeah.
Some of the nurses became travel nurses.
Yeah.
And they came and worked in Tallahassee, and we go out and we go eat and hang out, and we still talk to this day.
Right.
You know, so the support system, what they have going on at Shands,
it's amazing.
Is amazing. It is
top
great.
notch.
The doctors, all to the nurses,
Yeah.
Even to the techs. I'm friend with the techs on the floor. You know,
everybody, man.
So
the cleaning staff.
Everybody. Oh yeah. So man, I can't give Shands Hospital enough praise.
Yeah,
and that's in Gainesville, Florida, for you guys who don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing team.
If you have any heart issues or anything like that you feel, get a referral or something. Just try to make your way there and talk to that,
and their system staff. And their system is designed to where not one person makes a decision.
Right.
They go back and have a team. I think it's every Wednesday they have a huge team and they talk about everybody. And they all come together collectively and make decisions on your case. So I love that about them.
I mean, it actually saved both of our lives.
Absolutely.
Quick story. During that time, I was receiving the harm. My wife's father passed away, and we were headed down. And I was just going for a doctor's visit, in Gainesville to Dr. Valero, and I was at the doctor's visit with my wife, and my wife went to the bathroom, and Dr. Valero said, "How would your wife feel if I tell you that you had to stay?" And I was like, "Had to stay? Yo, my wife's father passed away. Did you hear that part?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I heard that part, but your condition is so bad. If you don't stay, I don't think you're gonna make it."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was blown away, man. My wife had previously lost her mother, and I was able to make that funeral. I was sick as a dog anyway there, but we were on the way to her father's funeral. Man, you can imagine how crushed I was. I had to send my wife off, to go bury her father. Man, I was so emotionally. I was in the hospital, man. I just, my mental wasn't right.
Yeah, I can't imagine, that. And like I said, man, is the mental aspect of going through something like this is definitely difficult. Like me and you once said, man, I said you definitely have to be built different to do
this. You got to be built different, man.
You have to be built different to go through something like this.
Right. What I like to say, man, is I had a lot of mental toughness.
Yeah.
You got to have you played sports before. You're a big football guy. Matter of fact, he played for FAMU.
Oh yeah, shout out to FAMU and the Rattlers. Yeah, SWAC champions.
Yeah, strike again.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So, but I mean, your physical challenges and stuff like that. We made it through it though, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Man.
I know. Right now, I want to talk about the milestones after the transplant.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Can we get into that a little bit with you? What happened after the transplants? How was your recovery?
Okay.
And things of that nature.
All right, let me tell you how good God is, right?
Yeah.
Let me break it down. So the transplant was rough, okay? As you know.
Yeah.
You're getting cut twice. You got the cut down here, right?
Right.
And then for the kidney transplant, I was shocked how large the incision was. So it goes from here all the way around to here. I was like, well, how big is the kidney, man? But anyway, the recovery, it was tough. And that was quite painful, by the way. The kidney incision,
man,
I think it was hurting worse than the chest.
It did.
Yeah. I mean, and mind you, when you get your chest cracked open, when you put the chest plate, it's not just the outside, but the inside. You have metal wires.
Yeah.
To this day, when you take a chest X-ray, you see the metal wires look like shoelaces.
Yeah.
Keeping their chest plate closed.
Right.
So that stays. The outside is glued and sewed and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the kidneys, staples. And I was like, I don't know. It was just more painful to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after I got through that, right, and then after the transplant, You recover in the hospital. I think I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. You recover quicker because when you have a new heart pumping that blood,
Yeah.
you just recover so much quicker.
Right.
So much quicker. So
Right.
everything was going fast, you know. The day after transplant, they were like, get up.
Right.
I was like, oh man. Right. So anyway, so yeah, I was out in 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. And then they send you to an apartment. Right. They sent me to an apartment about a mile from the hospital, and that's awesome, by the way. They set that up for you.
Oh man, they did that for me and my wife too.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a whole of,
I had a 2-bedroom apartment. It was amazing.
I'd like to tell them, man, the Gainesville our second home.
Yeah, it is.
For real.
It is. It is. So yeah, so it set us up with the apartment. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, a good 4 weeks. You have to stay there because you're constantly going back, getting checked, and the biopsies and so on and so forth, and rehab and all that stuff. So it's about 4 weeks I stayed. I wanted to keep me 5, but you know how hard-headed I was. Right. So anyway, got out of the 4 and I just recovered. I hit the gym. Right. I hit the gym real hard. I was like, okay, I got this energy now. So let me go on and hit this gym and get strong because I lost all my muscle, man. I mean, I wish we had a video of before and what, before what I looked. I was more muscular. I was strong. Right. You know what I mean? After ball, I played pretty much in shape. I was a big guy, but I was in shape. I was a big guy in shape. You know what I mean? And I lost all that muscle, man. Right. I lost all
not doing anything,
muscle.
man.
Laying in bed, not.
You're just laying
anything.
there, man.
You know, the long period I spent in the hospital laying flat. But anyway, worked really hard, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not letting anything stop or change me. I'm gonna get back to what I love doing. I want to go back into law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And I talked to the team, and I was like, I'm gonna work my butt off to get back to law enforcement. You know, and that's what I did. Man, that's great. They gave me the green light.
Milestone they checked on recovery, baby.
Yeah. So I went back. I'm not working the streets. I'm working in the college police department. Right. So I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it, man.
Beautiful. Yeah. For me, in the recovery house, man, mind you, I had the transplants, heart and the kidney. And just like you, I walk. They told me the faster you get up and walk, the faster you recover.
Oh, yeah.
And so I walked like maybe 12 hours later after I had the surgery. You know, I actually walked on my own. You know, very weak and still, but I was able to walk on my own strength. It was like,
that's amazing.
That's so amazing. Yeah. All the nurses were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Man, you are so amazing. You're such a strong individual. You know, to walk out of here. She was like, I've known people to stay here for weeks trying to recover and won't get up. And so the apartment thing, what happened was, you know, after the transplant, maybe a week and a half later, Caleb and my wife had COVID prior to. And I think it kind of, I don't know where I got COVID from because I was nowhere else but the hospital.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they tried to pinpoint it that I had a strain out of Chicago, somebody, you know, I don't know how that happened.
So tell me about that, because I was, oh my God, when I found out I talked to your wife, because I think randomly called her, was just checking on you.
Yeah.
And then she told me that, you know, what happened. So switching roles here, I'm going to interview you.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did that affect you? How did that go down?
Man, it affected me in a major way because like we were at the recovery house and one night my wife and kids were upstairs and I was downstairs because I couldn't walk upstairs, of course. You know, my chest cracked up and whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so what happened was she called I started losing oxygen. My oxygen started from like an 80 and it started dropping rapidly. It went from an 80 to like a 60.
Oh yeah.
50.
Yeah, you huffing and puffing by then.
40.
Yeah,
that's you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the 40 mark, my wife said, no, we called the paramedics. Mind you, it's COVID. COVID's real big. The hospital shut down. Nobody can go in.
Yep.
Nobody can, you know. So the ambulance got there and they didn't come in the apartment. I had to walk and get on the cart.
Yep.
For them to take me to the hospital. So I get to the hospital, mind you, I'm there all alone. All I had was a cell phone and God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
and,
know.
and at that time, they came to me and the doctor said, we're gonna have to put you on life support. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so once they put me on, before that, let me back up. I called my wife and told them what they were planning on doing. And the spirit spoke to me and said, "You're not gonna die.
Mhm.
You're not gonna die." And so I got on the phone with my wife and I told her, I said, "Hey, listen, I promise you." I looked in the phone. I said, "I promise you, I'm not gonna die. I'll be back. I make that promise to you, bro." So they put me to sleep, 6, 7 hours. For a couple of days, I was out for a couple of days, whatever.
Mhm.
But when I did wake up, man, I woke up and the lights were bright like this right here. And I looked around. I was like, yes, God, you
Mhm.
helped me keep that promise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was a
Mhm.
milestone for me.
Oh yeah,
You know what
man.
I'm saying? It increased it. It increased my faith. You know,
Yeah.
they say you have all you need is a mustard seed of faith.
Mhm.
I like to tell people I got big faith. It's way bigger than mustard seed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Big faith
Mhm.
podcast, and that's
Yeah.
what this is all about right here, man.
Yeah, man. I'm
Man,
telling you,
so
man. When the man upstairs says no, it's not your time, brother.
right,
It's not your
it's not
time.
your time,
It's
man.
not your time.
Yeah,
And you give him all the praise and the love.
yeah, man.
You know what I
For
mean?
real, man.
It's not your time.
Man, actually, man, I enjoyed talking with you, man. And we're gonna leave out with a prayer. You know what I'm saying? We got so much other stuff we can talk about. Man,
Oh
we need
yeah.
to do part 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
You
Thank
know
you for
what I'm
having me,
saying?
man.
Yeah,
And let me know. Just
yeah,
let me know.
yeah. It's
Let me know.
my brother of a kindred spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? Back and forth together, in the
Oh
trenches
yeah.
together, man.
Oh
But
yeah.
our faith brought us through. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? You can conquer anything. Just have faith in God, believe, trust in God, and you can conquer anything. Big faith, big blessings is what I always say. Well, let's
Yeah.
close out with a prayer,
All
brother.
right, brother.
Quick prayer. Father God, thank you for Melton Headley, Lord. Thank you for connecting us, Lord. Thank you for what we've been through, Lord, that we can share our story that may help somebody else, help somebody else in their journey, Father God, knowing that you're God, God alone, and you cannot fail, Lord. And so you be by anybody's side that watches this podcast, Lord, that's in the need of upliftment, Lord. We do this in the name of you, Lord. I like to close out big faith, big blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Hey
All
man,
right,
I
man,
enjoyed
brother.
it.
Yeah. Thank you for